When I say the word poverty, what is the first word you think of? Did any of these come to mind? Hungry, sick, homeless, begging, no clean water, unemployed, no health care, penniless, vulnerable. North Americans quite often think of poverty in these ways.
Jesus was all about the caring for the poor and the oppressed, and he wants us to be all about as well. When John the Baptist wanted to know if Jesus really was the Messiah, Jesus responded in Matthew chapter 11, verse 4 and 5. Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind see, the lame walk, the leper is cleansed, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised, and the good news is proclaimed to the poor. The message Jesus gave to his followers is: love mercy, act justly, walk humbly, show compassion, love your neighbor, care for others. All the scripture can be summed up: love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Passion for God and compassion for others. All the scripture, that is his mandate for us.
To care for those we are going to serve in El Salvador, we first need to understand them. Let's hear how those who live in poverty actually view it. Here are some of the comments we heard.
La pobreza para mí es algo que nos lleva muchas veces a vivir en un sufrimiento.
Pues miren, uno no hay que ponerse a decir yo soy pobre, ¿va? Porque a veces Dios le ayuda a uno, ¿va? Y si yo me pongo, ay, que yo soy pobre, o que aquella es pobre y que no sé qué, ahí está que uno no tiene que apoderarse a que uno es así o que la persona aquella es así, ¿va? Porque uno primero está el de allá arriba para pedirle a él pues sí, que todo salga bien. Y si uno se pone, ay, yo soy pobre porque yo no puedo, ahí está que uno entre más dice aquello, más se va para abajo, más para abajo. Y uno mismo se hace el que es pobre, pues.
Pobreza para mí es un sufrimiento, o sea, de no poder tener tal vez como uno tener para sus alimentos, no tener a veces un 5 para darle a nuestros hijos. Es un sentimiento bien grande.
Pobreza no creer en Dios, no tener la certeza de que Él sí derrama bendiciones sobre nosotros. Pobreza, como digamos, espiritual.
The very last point made is a very important point. Poverty is not being able to help your loved ones. Poverty is not just about not having wealth or resources. Poverty is also about people feeling a lack of worth, value, and dignity. It is about not having opportunity and choices. Poverty is a lack of hope. That is why things go. That is why things like yours are needed in El Salvador. Money only helps so much. Things bring hope and show people living in poverty that they are loved and cared for, and that they are not forgotten.
A thing met with a family and heard this story. Jose, the father of the family, shared that their home was in a terrible conditions, and his family was desperate to have a better home. Their walls were ready to fall down on top of them, and the rain came running through the holes in the roof. They were constantly pleading to him to provide a better home for them. But what could he do? He had no resources or money. Jose felt completely worthless and inadequate as a family provider. He said that all he could do was pray. One day, Jose went to get some corn ground for making tortillas. On his way, he ran into one of the community leaders who told him, "Jose, you have to go get your land ready. In a couple of weeks, shelter is coming and they are going to build you a new house." That was the first time he heard anything about getting a house. He had gone through the interview process months ago and signed it up to be on the waiting list for a new house. But this was a surprising news to him. Jose said that he totally forgot about his corn and he ran home to tell his family the good news. They celebrated together and his family was so happy with him. Jose felt so proud in this moment, and slowly his dignity and self-worth started to return. Jose said that after he got his house, he felt so much more hopeful and had more energy to think about the future. He worked for another man in the community, making pizzas and selling them in the community. And he saw how his boss was making enough money to provide a better life for his family. He started to think about doing something like this himself, and then someone from his church offered him an old oven. Jose started his own family business making pizzas. His whole family ended up working together to run the business, and their lives completely changed. A new home can change so much for a family. It's not just about the house, it can change so much of their lives, including their confidence and their self-worth.
Let me share with you Santiago Guerrero's response when he was asked what his new house meant to him. He's a farmer who lives in Nueva Esperanza with his wife Reina and his 2 children. He told, before shelter came to Nueva Esperanza, this community had big conflicts all the time. The neighbors were fighting all the time. They were not getting along anymore. And when shelter started coming into this community, they start those meetings, the ones where you go, just to see if you can get a house. But shelter has that thing that we have to do a devotional before they start giving the information. And a lot of the people from the community start giving their hearts to Jesus. So now, I think shelter has been here for 4 years, and everything is changing in our community. I know the houses are a big blessing from God, but what Jesus did for this community is more than that. Because now, as you see, everybody is helping the neighbors. We don't have that many conflicts anymore. You are not going to see neighbors fighting in the street anymore. So I think that God really bless us, not just with a house, He bless our lives too. It's so much more than just a house. But if we want to go and bring more than just a house, we need to be prepared.
Before we share how you can prepare, let us tell you about how the shelter team prepares. When you come to El Salvador, you will see that everything is ready. There is a whole team in El Salvador, the shelter team, that works all year to make sure everything is organized. We make sure that the land has been cleared and that the house kits has been delivered. We develop a community leader team that helps through the whole process. We make sure that the families most in need are receiving homes, and I'm sure that your team wants a place to stay and food to eat. Everything is organized, but even as we prepare everything, our main goal is that as many families as possible hear the gospel and have the chance to meet Jesus. All of this happens before you come to El Salvador. It happens while you are here, and it continues long after you leave. We are prepared, and we need you to be prepared as well.
First of all, today we will talk about spiritual preparation. How do we get prepared spiritually? As people, we want to be in control all the time. We think we have so much to lose. Think about it. There is insurance for everything. Heaven forbid. If something goes wrong and we don't have a backup plan, it often feels like we don't really need to trust God for very much at all. Think about it for a moment. What do we really trust God for? What are you trusting God for right now? There are times in life when it becomes clear that we don't have as much control as we thought, and we don't have as much control as we would like. Going to El Salvador is one of those times. We can plan and prepare and be ready, but it doesn't mean that we are in control. In El Salvador, you are in a different culture with a different language. You don't necessarily understand how things work, and this can take you out of your comfort zone. It's not easy as at home. This is why we recognize that we are not as in control as we think we are. Our only insurance, our only constance is God, and we say this because God is in control. That is why we need to be spiritually prepared. We need to be looking for where God is working and asking what is God is doing in us and what is He doing in those around us. A spiritual preparation gives us the ability to see God and His activity, to see Him at work, to become aware of where He is at work, and to trust Him when we feel like we are in unknown territory.
So how we do this? How do we prepare spiritually? Prayer. Start praying now every day for your team, for unity, love, and growth. Families, that the family receiving home will see as a gift from God. Community, the people who will hear the gospel message. The shelter team in El Salvador, we are your teammates and are in this together with you. Yourself, that your heart will be open to God. Reading. Choose a book on the resources list and focus on what God is saying to you. Or read through the book of Matthew in the Bible and see what Jesus has to say about the poor. Prepare your story. Think about your own story. How has God changed your life, and how will you share that? So this is the homework for you for the next few months. Pray, read, and prepare your story. Become spiritually ready. I don't know where you are in your spiritual journey, but I will encourage you to take these next few months to think about it and ask God to reveal Himself to you.